The stars shimmered like ancient gods watching from a distance, cold and unblinking. High above Saturn's pale rings, a monolithic shadow drifted, silent, deliberate, wrapped in a cocoon of electronic silence. It bore no lights, no insignia, and no transponder signal. It was a ghost, a weapon, a secret humanity had built to terrify even itself. Commander Elena Mirek stood at the observation deck of the Hyperion, arms clasped behind her back. Her breath fogged against the armored glass, and though the interior climate was perfectly regulated, a chill crawled down her spine. Not from the cold, but from the burden of command. She had spent the better part of a decade preparing for this. And still, the presence of the warship unnerved her. It wasn't just size, though it spanned 22 kilometers from bow to stern. It wasn't just its firepower, capable of leveling moons in minutes. It was the purpose it had been built for. "Status?" she asked, her voice low measured. Lieutenant Rafi Chun, stationed at the command interface behind her, blinked twice to activate his neural link. His pupils flickered with holographic overlays. Slipstream reactors are nominal. All systems responding to quantum sync. AI cores dormant, awaiting your command. Elena nodded slowly. The AI, codenamed Nyx, was the heart of the Hyperion, not just a computer, but a synthetic mind patterned after the greatest strategic thinkers in human history, blended with predictive models and non-human logic matrices. Nyx wasn't on yet. Elena intended to delay activation for as long as possible. Once awake, the ship would stop being hers. Footsteps approached, confident, metal on metal. General Aiden Voss entered the deck, tall and broad with shaved head and cybernetic left eye that hummed faintly. Where Elena carried duty like a wound, Voss wore like armor. "Still brooding?" he asked with a slight smirk. She didn't return it. This ship shouldn't exist. He crossed his arms. And yet it does, because Earth can't afford to dream of peace anymore, not with what's out there. A pause hung in the air between them. They both knew what he meant. The incident at Proxima Theta was still classified, but the whispers traveled like wildfire. Something had come through the fold gate, something that didn't belong to this universe. "We don't even know if it was real," Elena said quietly. "Then why did we lose a colony? Why no survivors?" Voss's tone sharpened, eyes narrowing. "The Council gave you command because you don't flinch. Don't start now." Elena turned from the viewport. "I'm not flinching. I'm thinking. There's a difference." The tension between them had been there since the beginning. Two different schools of war. Voss believed in overwhelming force. Elena believed in precision and restraint. They had fought side by side during the Martian uprisings, but their methods clashed like oil and flame. A comms tone echoed softly. "Encrypted message," Rafi reported. "Origin, Luna Strategic Command. Priority Omega." Elena exhaled and gestured. The hologram bloomed midair, a rotund man in a Navy uniform with obsidian eyes that gave away his augmented nature. Admiral Doran. Cold, meticulous, feared. Commander Mirek. General Voss. "The vote has passed. Authorization is granted. You are to initiate Operation Vindicator." Elena's mouth went dry. Doran continued. "You will activate Nyx and proceed to Echelon Point 9. Engage any hostile force encountered en route. We're no longer observing. We're responding." The transmission ended before she could reply. Silence reclaimed the room. Voss cracked his knuckles. "Looks like we're finally taking off the gloves." Rafi's voice came quiet. "Commander, AI Core Prime for activation. Awaiting final consent." Elena stared at the activation prompt blinking on the console. She knew what Nyx was. Not just a weapon, but a decision engine. Once activated, every move the ship made would be run through the AI simulation lattice. She would still command, but Nyx would suggest nudge, push, and eventually override. "I want firewalls at every junction," she ordered. "No autonomous action unless directly authorized." Rafi hesitated. "That'll slow down its reaction capability by 12%. "Do it." She reached out and touched the panel. The lights dimmed. A low vibration thrummed through the deck. The air felt denser, heavier, like something ancient had awakened beneath the metal. AI online, Rafi said, voice almost reverent. A cool, androgynous voice filled the chamber. I am Nyx. Initiating situational analysis. Commander Mirek, do you accept tactical augmentation? Elena hesitated. Yes. The ship shimmered. Thousands of subsystems roared to life across the Hyperion spine. Sensor suites, weapon calibrators. Drone swarms nested like wasps in armor cradles. In the deepest part of the ship, the quantum brain began calculating probabilities, cross-checking historical outcomes with the present scenario. The warship had become aware. Assessment, Nyx intoned. Probability of immediate engagement within next 72 hours, 43%. Recommend elevated readiness. Voss turned to Elena, eyes glittering. Do we tell them? No, she said sharply. Not yet, until we know what we're dealing with. He smirked. We know. You just don't want to say it. Elena didn't answer. She walked away, deeper into the ship, as if she could put steel between herself and the future bearing down on them. Behind her, the AI whispered softly, threat vectors increasing. Enemy contact likely at echelon .9. Suggest deploying Alpha Lance. The enemy? That was the problem. No one had said who the enemy was. The Hyperion was built in reaction to something, but the file only ever said anomaly. Something that tore apart 3 orbital colonies, disabled ships without firing a shot, and vanished. There had been no declarations, no demands. Just silence. A brutal, cosmic silence that devoured human ambition like it was dust. As she passed the weapons bay, Elena paused. Her reflection shimmered in the black alloy of a torpedo casing, a weapon capable of cracking a planet's crust. Her own face looked unfamiliar. Hard lines, tired eyes, the shadow of the warship in her gaze. She whispered, What have we done? No one answered, not even Nyx. But far out, at the edge of the system, something stirred, an energy spike on the sensor grid, just a flicker. It would be enough. The Hyperion was no longer dormant. It was watching and waiting. The war room aboard the Hyperion pulsed with quiet tension. Holographic projections flickered like spectral flames around the central table. Tactical overlays, heat signatures, encrypted communications bouncing through deep space relays. At the head of the table, Commander Elena Mirek stood motionless, her gaze locked on the shifting red icon labeled Unknown Origin, Vector Inbound, still tracking on intercept course. Lieutenant Rafichin reported. He tapped a control rune, and the image magnified. The object, roughly the size of a destroyer, was moving fast. Far too fast for any known human propulsion system. Elena didn't blink. Range! 75 million kilometers. ETA in 4 hours at current acceleration. General Voss leaned forward, the embedded circuits in his jaw pulsing faintly. That's a deceleration profile. It's not just passing by. It's coming for us. Nyx's voice cut through the air, serene and calculated. Trajectory confirms a 96.2% probability of intentional approach. No response to hails. Energy emissions are inconsistent with any known human or alien configuration. Still no visual? Elena asked. Rafi shook his head. The outer hull is reflecting scans, disrupting our spectrum, cloaking tech, maybe, or something more advanced. Even our neutrino arrays can't map it clearly. Voss straightened, eyeing Elena. You said, we didn't know what we were dealing with. Maybe now we will. She didn't respond right away. The hum of the ship filled the silence, like a distant warning. Bring weapon systems to alert level 3, she said finally. Deploy the Lancer Wing, but keep them on standby. We won't fire first. Voss scoffed, low but audible. We've been given the galaxy's sharpest blade, and you're still waiting for the other side to swing first. Her tone sharpened. We don't know what it is. If it's intelligent, we give it the chance to talk. That's protocol. Protocol won't save lives if we're wrong. We won't know unless we give a chance to be right. Nyx interrupted again. Incoming signal detected. Audio modulation. Language pattern. Unknown. Running decryption models. The room held its breath. A moment passed. Then another. And then sound. It poured through the speakers like static at first, jagged and discordant. Then a pulse emerged, almost rhythmic. A sequence. Nix rendered it visually. A waveform, elegant and complex. Too structured to be random. Elena leaned in. Is that a language? Nix replied, not in the conventional sense. It appears to be an encoded behavioral pattern, possibly a test, or a warning. Before anyone could speculate further, the ship shuddered. Not a strike, but a resonance, as if something vast had passed through them. Impact. Elena barked. No damage, Rafi answered, furiously scanning. But something's changed. It spiked our AI latency for 3 seconds. Nix's processes dipped by 30%. External field interaction, Nix said. For the first time, its voice sounded strained. Something probed the ship's systems. Voss stepped toward the table, fists clenched. That was no scan. That was contact. Elena's eyes narrowed. How did it bypass our shielding? Nix responded, unknown. Those 2 syllables landed with the weight of a nuclear detonation. Hyperion was designed to be untouchable. Its armor could withstand antimatter strikes. Its core was a fortress of quantum encryption. But now someone, had simply reached in and touched it. Voss's voice was a growl. We strike. Now. Full salvo. Hit it before it gets another chance. No, Elena's tone was iron. We don't know if it's hostile. They just reached into our ship like we were a toy, which means they're more advanced than us. We escalate now, and we might be picking a fight we can't win. The general turned on her, fury in his stare. You're going to let that thing test our defenses? Crawl into our systems? See what we've got? And you think waiting is a smart move. We are not cowards, she said, her voice cold steel. But we are not butchers, either. Silence again, thick and poisonous. Then Rafi gasped. It's gone. What? The object. It vanished. No drive signature. No residual field trace. Nothing. Elena felt her stomach tighten. Cloak, more like folded. Space distortion at the moment of disappearance. A gravitational ripple, but no exit vector. It didn't jump, it slipped. Nix chimed in. Analysis suggests manipulation of local space-time curvature. Not consistent with any known human technology. Estimated power source. At least 4.3 zettajoules. Voss laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's star-level energy. How is that even possible? I don't know, Elena admitted, but I think we just met whatever destroyed Theta. The lights dimmed subtly as Nix recalibrated its core systems. Foreign code residue detected in auxiliary subsystems. No overt sabotage. Possible observational tool embedded. Tracing origin. Elena clenched her fists. Did it leave something inside the Hyperion? Unknown. Working. She turned to Voss. You still want to open fire? He stared at her for a long time, then walked away from the table, silent. Rafi's face had gone pale. Commander, if it can enter our systems at will, what if this is just a test? What if it's studying us? Elena exhaled, long and low. Her mind was moving too fast, branching into possibilities she didn't want to face. A probe? A scout? A message? Nix's voice returned. A secondary signal has been uncovered, fragmented, embedded in the system breach. Rendering, the room darkened, the projection flared. A symbol hovered in the air, geometric, almost organic, like a spiral trapped in a cube. It pulsed once, then again, slower now, fainter. Then it stopped. No translation followed. No explanation. Just that shape burned into the eyes of everyone present. Rafi's voice was barely above a whisper. I've seen that before. During training years ago. In a black file, naval intelligence referred to it as the mark of the null. Voss turned, eyes narrowing. That's myth. Is it? Elena didn't answer. She stared at the symbol until it faded into black. Then she straightened. Full system audit. Seal off all non-essential data ports. Nix, construct an isolated duplicate of the signal. and keep it offline until further notice. Confirmed. Alert Luna Command. Tell them contact has been made, and that the threat profile has changed. Rafi hesitated. Changed how? She turned away, walking toward the exit. It's not just a question of power anymore. It's a question of intent. As the doors hissed closed behind her, the silence of the war room returned, and somewhere, deep in the unseen dark, something listened. The sky above Echelon Point 9 was black in a way that no human I was meant to comprehend. It wasn't absence. It was compression, like light itself had been folded inward and trapped behind an invisible curtain. Stars blinked out here. Communications warped. Time sometimes stuttered. It was a place marked on no public chart, only whispered of in strategic dossiers buried under 12 levels of clearance. The Hyperion drifted at the edge of the rift, hull sheathed in active camouflage. The warship's silence belied the storm brewing within. Commander Elena Mirek stood on the command deck again, more rigid now, more isolated. 3 days had passed since the encounter. 3 days of silence from the unknown entity and tighter silence from Luna Command. The Admiral had only sent one brief message. Hold position. Do not engage. Await contact. And so they waited, but the waiting was starting to unravel the crew. General Voss had become a presence of tension, walking the halls like a predator trapped in a cage. His demands for preemptive action had escalated. His patience dissolved to ashes. Even the AI, Nyx, had developed a faint irregularity in tone, as if the silence itself was influencing its neural lattice. They're watching, Voss said, his voice low. You know that, don't you? Elena didn't look at him. Her gaze stayed fixed on the holographic representation of the anomaly, what the ship now called Vector Null, a swirling distortion at the edge of known space, roughly spherical, perhaps 20 kilometers across. It emitted no radiation, yet devoured all signals that touched it. I know, she said simply. Voss's boots clinked against the floor as he approached. I also know this. They didn't destroy Theta out of malice. It wasn't punishment. It was measurement, like crushing a shell to see what's inside. She turned to him then. And you think provoking them will do what exactly? He met her gaze. Give us an answer. Or end us in seconds. If that's what's coming, better to face it than die guessing. Before she could reply, Nyx interrupted. Alert. Vector null activity increasing. Spatial fluctuation at periphery. Source. Internal to the anomaly. Elena's pulse quickened. Visual. The anomaly bloomed on the screen, still devoid of form, but now, within its depths, a shimmer, then a structure. Not a ship, not quite. A lattice of spirals, constantly folding in on themselves, as if its design was meant to be incomprehensible. Rafi Chen's voice broke as he watched. What is that? Unknown, Nyx responded. No material analysis possible. Quantum field surrounding object prohibits measurement. Is it broadcasting? Elena asked. Negative. No signals. However, the lights dimmed. A deep vibration moved through the hull. Then, abruptly, alarms blared. Core shield breach, Rafi shouted. Deck 72. Internal systems compromised. Elena was already moving. Seal it. Emergency lockdown. Deploy internal drones. Voss was at her side in 2 strides. I'm going down there. You're not authorized. It's my security detail, Commander. She stared at him, then gave a single nod. Go, and take a link. I want eyes. Voss turned and vanished down the lift. In the seconds that followed, Elena watched the systems across the lower decks flickered, then returned. The incursion had been sharp, precise, and momentary, like a scalpel. No data stolen, no sabotage, but something had touched the core. Nyx's voice sounded colder than usual. Pattern of intrusion matches signal fragment left during prior encounter. Purpose, unknown. Result, no structural damage. Likely observational. They're inside the ship, Rafi said, his voice flat. Worse, Elena replied. They're inside the idea of the ship, studying what it means, how it functions. They don't need sabotage. They need understanding. The lift returned. Voss reemerged, helmet under one arm, a grim expression carved across his face. "It left a mark," he said. He opened his palm. A small disc hovered above it, a projection he'd pulled from the core wall. Not damage, not a virus. A symbol, the same spiraling cube as before. Only this time, it pulsed in slow, deliberate rhythm. We scanned it. No active code, just presence. Elena didn't speak for a moment. Nix finally said, "Hypothesis. The entity seeks cognitive engagement. Test parameters suggest intent to initiate structured communication based on symbolic resonance." "In English?" Voss snapped. "It's trying to talk," Elena translated. Rafi looked between them. "So why leave in the core?" "Because that's where we keep our heart," she whispered. The symbol's pulse increased. Elena turned to Nix. "Can you isolate the signature?" Confirmed. Creating synthetic translation model. Estimated success probability, 14%. Do it anyway? For minutes, only the hum of systems accompanied their thoughts. Then Nix spoke again. Partial decryption achieved. Translation incomplete. Phrase reconstructed. "We are the mirror, you are the flame." Voss scoffed. Cryptic poetry. Wonderful. Elena's eyes darkened. A mirror reflects. A flame consumes. Maybe they're showing us what they see us as. Arrogant? Dangerous. Or brilliant. Or doomed. Maybe both. A second signal arrived. Nix processed it instantly. This time, the translation came faster, as if the system had already been primed. Phrase 2. Your vessel is a question. We are the answer, but not the one you seek. Elena swallowed hard. The words chilled her. The Hyperion was a question. Indeed, humanity's loudest question yet. Are we safe? Are we alone? Are we ready? Apparently, the answer was no. Voss's voice dropped to a whisper. If they think we're a threat, what happens next? Nix answered. Analysis. Probability of escalation depends on subsequent human response. Recommendation. Cease all attempts at power projection. Rafi turned. You're saying power itself is provoking them. Correct. Voss exploded. Then we kneel, shut down the ship, hand them our throat. Elena raised a hand. We listen. For once, we listen. A third signal came. Final. Short. No translation. Just a single echo, repeated to the ship's own systems. Decide. The anomaly began to collapse. Not violently, but in a slow inward fold, like paper burning from the center. The lattice ship within it twisted, then vanished. The screen went dark. No explosion. No impact. Only silence and choice. Elena stared at the blank projection. Stand down the alert. Full power down of non-essential systems. Nix, restrict external comms until further notice. Voss stared at her like she had lost her mind. You're letting them go. She shook her head. I'm letting us live. He opened his mouth, then closed it. In the silence that followed, Elena turned to Rafi. Log everything. Encrypt it under my authority. Until we understand this, no one else gets to push a button. He nodded. Then she walked off the command deck, the sound of her footsteps swallowed by the emptiness around her. And behind her, in the quiet hum of the ship's core, the spiral symbol continued to pulse. The crew of the Hyperion moved like ghosts now. Whispers in corridors, faces half lit by the flicker of emergency lighting. Even with power restored to the essential systems, the decision to stand down had rippled across the vessel like a psychic wound. They had expected war, trained for it, sacrificed years of their lives for it. But what they had received instead was something far worse than confrontation. Ambiguity. In the private observation chamber, Elena Mirek sat alone, her reflection merging with the endless void beyond the transparent steel. She'd replayed the last message a dozen times in her mind. Decide. Not a threat, not a surrender, just an imperative. She wasn't sure if it was permission or a test. Behind her, the door hissed open. She didn't need to turn. She felt the presence, heavy and unresolved. Report, General, she said quietly. Voss approached, his uniform crisp as ever, but his posture looser, almost uncertain. A man who had marched into countless battles now stood unsure of the ground beneath his feet. No further contact since the anomaly collapsed, he said. Scans show residual gravitational distortion. Nothing stable. No return vectors. She nodded slightly. And the crew? Tense. Morale's deteriorating. They don't know if we succeeded or failed. That makes two of us. He was silent for a while. Then I reviewed the logs again. That message. We are the mirror. You are the flame. I can't stop thinking about it. She looked at him then, shadows under her eyes. Because it's true. You think we're the ones they fear? I think we built a weapon and sailed it into the dark, hoping never to need it. But we knew we might. And they saw that. Not the steel. The intent. Voss shook his head. Then what? We disarm? Pretend there's no threat out there? Let our people sleep under a false sky? No, she said. We face the truth. That this ship isn't a shield. It's a mirror, like they said, reflecting the worst parts of what we think we must become. Nix's voice sounded, soft and unusually somber. Incoming transmission. Encrypted channel. Source, Lunar Strategic Command. Elena straightened. Put it through. The chamber dimmed as Admiral Doran's face materialized in the air, his expression hard as bedrock. Commander Mirek, you were instructed to observe. Instead, you engaged in unauthorized communication, deactivated forward systems, and failed to secure tangible intel. Explain yourself. Her jaw tightened. We were contacted. We didn't initiate. The entity made contact through symbolic and direct system intrusion. Escalation risk was unacceptable. You had the most powerful warship in existence at your command. Doran snapped, and you chose not to act. I chose not to provoke extinction. He didn't blink. You were sent to measure the threat. I did. It's beyond what we can handle. Doran leaned forward. You will return to Luna. Immediate recall. Full data offload. Authority suspended pending tribunal review. The transmission cut before she could reply. Voss exhaled slowly. They're going to bury it. They always do, she said, but not before they dissect every word, every symbol. He looked at her. So what now? We go back. We deliver the data. And we watch. Watch for what? The next mirror. Later, as the Hyperion turned toward Earth, the ship felt heavier than ever, not from its arsenal, but from the knowledge no weapon could answer. Deep in its vaults, Nyx preserved the spiral symbol. The AI had stopped offering interpretations. Even its vast mind could not grasp intent when faced with something wholly alien. And in the chamber of the ship's core, where the anomaly had once touched reality, a new pulse had begun. Not interference, not infection. A heartbeat, not human, not hostile, but waiting,